Hey kids, how's it going? This is Pulse Ray Vision coming to you live from Quattro Cinco Studios in my mom's basement. And we're going to hit you with another tech talk. You guys love the tech, you love the talk. We're going to be talking about the Forge platform and Curator.com. We had an introduction yesterday with Mark, and we talked a little bit about the Forge and the Forge Council, things that he's trying to set up over there. And then today we brought in more of the community to get into the weeds of the website and how the ecosystem works. We also have some other guests. We may have complete surprise guests coming on here. We don't know. We left a link in the Telegram, so it's kind of like leaving your door cracked open. You never know.
Really interesting.
But with that being said, I'll have Mark introduce himself and Nate introduce himself, and of course Proof of No Work Dev if you don't know them. So we'll just go clockwise with Mark first.
I'm Mark, founder of The Forge and Curator. Before that, some big YouTube channels called Minute Videos and Sprout Schools. Just very happy to be here and discuss with all of you guys how we can create a really, really good review mechanism. Helps people find great projects and avoid dangerous bad ones.
Awesome. And Nate, if those who don't know Nate.
Yes, sir. This is Nate McGettit from the Degen Round Table. Yeah, so I was asked to come on here by Mark because he's really awesome. Truly quite an honest man, I'm not going to lie. So, you asked me to come on. You have been talking with me about the Forge. It's a very interesting launchpad that you guys are trying to do currently. And I'm very interested in it because the entire idea, quite frankly, is literally honesty, right? And I don't know about you guys, but for everyone watching, but sacrifices haven't exactly gone the way that maybe we wanted them to go, you know? And what Mark is trying to solve, like the problem he's trying to solve with the Forge is the honesty of sacrifices and just kind of just rugging, if I may say that, right? So if you want to talk about it, Mark.
Maybe Proof of No Work. You want to introduce yourself before we get started?
Yeah, sure, man. Appreciate it. I'm a developer. I'm Pulse Chain community member. I actually am one of the only examples, my token Proof of No Work, of a successful sacrifice that went on where the price is up significantly. It's about up 12x from sacrifice rate. And I took a lot of the money that I received from the sacrifice, now the majority of it, and put it towards the project. So I am one of the exceptions to the rule, but in general, I would agree with your statement about that. And I'm just here to help spread word about the Curator and Forge community with Mark.
Awesome. So take it away, Mark, and then we'll jump into the comments here and get going.
Okay, great. Yeah. So Nate said, that the sacrifices haven't gone the way you wanted them to go, right? And I like to start the conversation with imagining what if they went well. Imagine every single sacrifice went well and everybody got a lot more money back than they sacrificed. What would happen if that's the case, right? And I think it would attract a lot more people, right, that want to sacrifice even more and get in on this. That would mean more money, more projects will come, right, that get funded, that build on the chain, and a huge bubbly ecosystem would happen, right? So that is the flip side of getting a crowdfunding mechanism wrong versus getting it right? And what we want to build is, it's not impossible that you have, there's many VCs out there who know how to vet projects and make them successful. There's some Launchpads, some that do a good job, right? So if we can establish a very successful vetting mechanism where we find the best projects, then this becomes a reality that you can actually create a place that finds great projects, people can get in on them, that you can make great stuff happen, and then everything grows. So that is the goal. And today we want to talk about, really kind of get into the nitty gritty, because the review mechanism is extremely complicated. Especially the more money can be made, the more projects and investors have the incentive to bribe and break the system, right? So it's a very complicated thing how this has to be done. And we've had a lot of experience now. Curator, we started off just as a review platform, not as a Launchpad. People could just come and rate and review any project, right? But after about half a year, we had many startups coming in, and they wanted what we call private reviews. So they got feedback from analysts, and Launchpad started working with us, sending us these projects, getting them reviewed before they launch and things like that. So that's where the whole idea of the Forge happened. And I want to take a little bit more time and share my screen quickly to give you a little bit more kind of in-depth understanding of the value of the reviews. Just gonna share quickly. So reviews are quite difficult in terms of it can be quite contentious, you know. And Nate and I, we just talked about that a minute ago before we came on the stream. When projects get bad reviews, they tend to basically get angry, right? And not react very well. And we saw that a lot on our platform, where analysts, you know, kind of are fighting with projects, and the projects want to get better reviews, and they accuse the analysts of, you know, false information, all these kind of things, which is very true in you know, in many cases. But I want to show here the other side, really the good side of our reviews. And this is since we opened last January, February, basically in 2023, we've had many reviews from very experienced analysts that have predicted projects doing really, really, really well. This is one of our favorite here. This is Caspa. Do you guys all know Caspa by now?
Yeah, I know Caspa.
Yeah. So basically, the story here is we just launched our platform. It was a live beta, basically, and some analysts came in and they did their application. They wrote 5 reviews. All of them were on Caspa, but then I didn't. This was in January last year. I didn't know of Caspa yet. And he did all 5. Caspa is so great, this and that. And I looked at it and I was going to reject him because I thought he's just shilling some stuff, right? But I went to check out the project, and then I saw the website was amazing. All the information was amazing. And then I looked at the white paper, was amazing. Then I looked at the founder's video explaining the thing, and the technology was amazing. And I have quite a good understanding of like how blockchain works, because we've done for over a year, like 3D animations explaining the technology and stuff like that. So I saw that this was really something next level. And what happened here is, so I really liked it, and I wrote a good review as well. And then 15 other analysts came in that all wrote a review as well. And this project got 4 or 5 stars. And none of these people had known about this project before. And of course, now the project is famous because just since that point, it did a 25x, right? It just kept going up and up and up and up. And of course, it had already done a 1000x since it started, right? So there is thousands and thousands of projects out there. I met the head of AWS Web3 fund, and he said there's over 1 million active crypto startups there. So even with thousands of analysts, you're only going to be able to review a sliver of those projects. So what we're trying to build, and if you do it correctly with these reviews, we can have a situation where we can be aware of all the projects that are there very early on, by working together, you know, dozens and eventually hundreds and thousands of analysts. This is one example, but here another great example is a Solana review from one of our most popular analysts, Blue Serif. She did a progress review on Solana a few months ago, and Solana was down at that point. And she basically just said, look, this is all the awesome stuff that Solana has been achieving the last year, and I think it's going to do really well. And from that review on, Solana just did amazing, right? We have another review from Proof of No Work, right, on HOA that was a couple of months ago. And I think it was a very, very good review that really captured why the project is so good. And then after that, it did really, really well. And we had, again, the same person who did a great review on Solana. She did an amazing progress review on Injective, and that just went off after that as well. I could bring many, 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 many more examples of that. But just this is the strong value. There's many projects like Dynex, Ator, lots of different projects that did really well from the start, and we were aware of them even before they started, because we have such a wide network of analysts now that just share the information that they anyways know about projects, right? So I just wanted to kind of show there is going to be lots of bad reviews, but lots of factually inaccurate reviews, and then there's going to be lots of great reviews, and you have to compare that a little bit to YouTube, where there's a lot of really shitty videos on there, right? But because of that mass, there is some content that is really, really good that can bubble to the top and really be much better than anything else. And I think this is the approach that we as a kind of analyst community need to take a little bit, that there's so many projects out there. We need to have a kind of filtration part where people maybe just spend 20 minutes or so to look at a project to see if it's even worth looking at it. Of course, when you only look at a project for 20 minutes, there's going to be lots of factual inaccuracies and things like that. But when we work together like that, we can kind of boil it down to those projects that look good on a first impression. And once more analysts come in and review those projects, they also give it good reviews. And then you end up with those projects that just everyone who's looking at it from every which angle, and then the more deeper and deeper we look at it, they have really, really good ratings. And so we've developed this mostly with the regular projects that are already live, but it's exactly the same with projects who want to come and build and do a sacrifice and stuff like that. If we have hundreds and eventually thousands of projects applying, and we can have this very structured approach where we make sure we really make the best use of all the analyst time, we can filter all these projects through and end up with those projects that are the best, that have the best chances to succeed, and in the end, get us to that situation where all the sacrifices we have are successful.
I keep harking on this point, man. Like that data that you just showed right there is so incredibly powerful, and the data that this is going to provide for projects, community members, investors, all kinds of people, it might be the primary value proposition of this whole thing, even outside of the Forge and the Launchpad, which in and of itself is incredible. This data right here that you're getting from the Curator platform is going to be some of the most valuable data for anyone involved in the blockchain space, anyone trying to start a project, or even people investing and learning about new stuff. This data is going to be incredible. And there's so many possibilities where this could go and different things that could get implemented, different functions, measurements for things, points, scores for, say, predicting a project, and then the appreciation that gets on it. You could see maybe when an analyst makes a review, what was the average gain from the recommendation the review they did. There's all kinds of possibilities that we could do on top of this. So this data is so powerful, and this network is going to be incredible, especially if we can get the right minds involved like this. And this is why we're so aggressively trying to market to this community and get the best people involved, is because we get the best data, and this is going to be powerful, man. It's going to be really powerful for everyone involved. So much value all across the chain.
Yeah, and I noticed that those projects are on different networks, right? So it doesn't matter what network
all of
project
crypto
is on. We're happy it's welcome into Curator to be vetted and to be analyzed. And then also, I mean, like you guys said, it's very difficult for a lot of projects just to get some reviews initially, let alone update reviews like you were showing in those graphs where people are actually following the project, and are they hitting their milestones? Are they following the roadmap? Are they delivering on what they're trying to put out there in the blockchain, right?
Exactly. And people are so worried about gatekeeping in this community, and that we don't have outreach or feedback or connection with other minds from other blockchains and stuff. Now you can get feedback from these other minds who have been largely gatekept from you, and they could contribute to stuff for our projects as well. There's brilliant people all across the blockchain space. So this connects everybody, and it allows someone that maybe is doing something on an obscure blockchain that doesn't have a lot of followers, has low usage or something, but they develop a really great idea you could bring that idea to your blockchain and your community and stuff. Like there's so many possibilities. Turbo bullish.
Let's say hi to chat here. We've been neglecting our chat. We got Red Squirrel, who's almost always first in chat.
Shout out.
Tetra's sack doesn't need fixing. Sunglasses. Text Clip says Tetra's fire. Hex Clip says I don't do sacrifices anymore unless they're capped. Godfather says much love, everybody. Scotty Utah, hey P Ray, what's up? Moonmut says he's forged in Hex. The Ascending Man from the Degen Round Tables in the house. They got Moondog with Love and Light. Adam from Vibra Finance, we're hoping to get him on here, but hopefully he'll be shooting some questions here from chat. Good to see you. Tex and Tailgates in the house. L, who I guess is one of your analysts, correct?
Yes, one of
in the chat. And of course, Sending Man says, hey guys, a wild SJ appears. What's up, SJ? Richard's brother says, no more sacks without baby blankets. It's weird. None of them work other than Richard's. And then also some love there. We got Hex Quinn in the house with throwing up a bunch of stars. Ancient Earthways, it's good to see you, brother. Joran Giriston.
Jeroen, he's one of our main analysts. He's written
another one of the analysts.
Over 100 reviews. So
Christian Nye is in the house. She's a regular. And then, of course, Elle says, just a couple of words. What is sacrifice in terms of Curator?
What is a sacrifice in terms of Curator? Well, I mean, a sacrifice is in many other ecosystem. It's a pre-sale or it's a fundraise, right? So Curator itself is for general reviews of projects that are already there. You know, they're not necessarily raising funds, but for projects that want to raise funds, they will now go to the Forge and do that there. And a couple of the differences are that the regular reviews on Curator, they're always public. Someone comes in and just writes a review, that's done. But new projects that come and looking for funding, they usually do that in a private environment first. So they will get reviews from analysts privately that allows them to work on it and improve over time. And as they go through the process, it will be more and more analysts that have access to the same review space, are able to give more input. And only once everything is complete, then those reviews will go to the public.
To me, like a sacrifice for this is, as it relates to the Curator platform, the Curator can facilitate both a sacrifice raise or a traditional securities raise. So when we're talking about a sacrifice as it relates to the Pulse Chain community, these are typically a fundraise for a project developer that entails no specific requirements or no promises. So although you could come through the Forge and say that you wanted to get feedback or something, you may choose not to use the smart contract that is used to custody the funds. You may just choose to have a traditional sacrifice where the funds come straight to the project developer or whatever for their innovation, for the thing that they developed here. And then people can participate, and essentially equivalent almost more so to like a donation or a gift that they gave someone to building this new innovation. And then maybe down the road, they would reward you with something. So the Curator platform is for reviews of all projects that bring this in, but the Forge there could facilitate both those old or this new Pulse Chain style of raise and also a traditional fundraising mechanism or a securities raise where you go through a process and make expectations and make promises and make things to investors. Because of the way that the smart contract operates, you can facilitate both styles through this platform.
See, I'm going to push back a little bit there. I want to push back on that a little bit, considering. So here's one problem that ends up occurring though, is as soon as you're making expectations, people expect to be paid, right? So with what I'm seeing is not necessarily expectations of, say, profit, right, which is a security, but instead it's going to be the expectation of honesty, and that's what this platform ultimately is trying to achieve.
Yeah, it brings
right?
Transparency, right?
Exactly. Yep. And that's what's extremely important, because sacrifices don't expect anything, right? That you're sacrificing your funds to me. Okay, who are you? Why am I sacrificing funds to you? We know who Richard Hart is. That's the reason why we sacrificed. But who are these other people that we're sacrificing to? You're sacrificing to a certain project. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and sacrifice to that project. Do I believe in it or not? Right? Let's sacrifice Liquid Loans. That's a very well-spoken project. But what if it's just some random meme coin or random meme thing, right? Who are you? And that's the point. That's where this the Forge is trying to sort of rein it in, being like, hey, you need to prove that you're actually worth sacrificing to before actually sacrificing. And that's what I'm getting out of it. And this is why I think it's vitally important for Pulse Chain, especially for people who are, let's just say, a little bit newer to crypto.
Yeah, I'd agree with what you're saying there for sure. I would just say that this is also set up to also facilitate those other projects as well. And we don't want to exclude anyone. And they don't even necessarily have to go through the Forge to come get a review on Curator or to, get feedback from the community and stuff. So it's not that we want to encourage people to do any type of shadiness or weird fundraisers or whatever, but we don't want to exclude any community or people from getting feedback and learning how to improve their project or getting, better ideas for what they're doing. Maybe someone wanted to do a sacrifice and then they could be convinced, oh, it would be better actually to do this style and go through the Forge and do it. So I think that's something we want to focus on too, is like Mark's primary motivation thing that I related to the most was censorship. There's so much censorship with this. And what we want to do is break down those walls and allow for everyone to kind of get their stuff out there and seen and then get feedback on it. So I appreciate what you're saying there, but I don't want to make it seem as though we're only going for one type of thing. Like we want all of crypto to come into this.
Yeah, and if Nate would mind sharing his crypto journey, how he made it into the Degen Round Table, and then how the Degen Round Table met up with the Forge. How did that come about?
Tell us about the Degen Round Table, bro. Show it.
Sure thing. So originally, the Degen Round Table is a group of individuals who are very smart. I'm kind of the peanut brain. Everybody else is doing their own thing. We just do what we do, right? But yeah, ultimately, we came together by being a part of groups that came from Charlie Miguel, which is Dollar Cost Crypto and Cultivate Crypto. And we took their crypto mindset course, which is closed now, but they'll be doing another one next quarter. And what ended up happening was we were planning for Pulse Chain right around just before, a month before launch. And we were helping people, come up with strategies and stuff like that. But as soon as it launched, people in many different groups were panicking, like, what do we do? What do we do? And we had already known what we'd done. In fact, as soon as it launched, in the course of 10 minutes, I had done 40 plus transactions because I already knew exactly what I was going to do. And I remember when it was 0.0001 pulse in gas fees. That's how early I was transacting things. It was ridiculous. So with that being said, though, we kind of identified each other helping out people, right? It's kind of like, this guy's popping up again. This guy's popping up again, answering questions that I'm trying to answer right now, right? And we ended up actually getting invited to a group that a bunch of us put together. And this group was literally just we called it a casino group in which we were going to do Degen plays. And then from there, it kind of evolved into exactly what we do on our platform, the Degen Round Table, into literally just a Telegram call, kind of like we did earlier, Mark. And we would just, talk about things. And then it started coming to the idea of like, hey, maybe we should like do a YouTube of this, and nobody will probably watch us, but at least we can get out there and maybe somebody will find it. And it'll help them. Right. And we were arguing back and forth. And I finally said, you know what, we're going to do it this day. And we did. And from there, we just kept going with it. And here we are right now. So 7 months actually later, I'm on the show here with you guys.
Shout out.
Yeah, I actually just went and subscribed to your channel and took a look at it. You've got some really good content on there. You guys have the book club going on, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
You guys have an interview with Liquid Loans Earn Protocol with Jesse up there. And then you've got a killer stream, one that did really well. was the one with Axis Alive and Toby One and let's see here, where was it?
Yeah, we've had dollar cost crypto as well. We've had a lot of people on. Yeah, it's really interesting because our platform has kind of turned into what you may call the place for people to come and relax and have a good time, right? We have the Whiskey Wednesdays where like literally anybody can, kind of like the F and Hangout with Discourse Syndicate. You can just come in, say hi. We get Maddie. Hey, Maddie, what's up? We've been yeah. Shout out to the Hex Conference, by the way. We were on there as well. We've got book club. But the whole idea of book club, that was Zenith's thing. He was like, you know what, I want to read about books that'll help people with their mindsets, learning about crypto, learning about life in general, how to get that mindset to succeed in life. And succeed is up to you, right? It has nothing to do with getting rich or anything like that. It has everything to do with finding your happiness, finding out what is going to be best for your life, right? So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great things about our show, and I love the guys over there. I am not going to be on this Sunday because of maybe what is it that they call the ball lovers, but football, the Super Bowl and everything. But yeah, we're making a hilarious joke about it for the guys who really don't care for sports ball. That's what Will called it. What's up, Wild SJ? But yeah, it's going to be a fun time. Will's got in partnership with a Wild SJ. He started kind of doing his thing of a Hex meetup where people are able to. He's got his own Telegram group where people can, if you're a Hexkin, Pulskin, whatever it is, you can go ahead and get into that group, and you can actually like meet up with people in real life, have good times, and he's already done a couple of those. It reminds me a lot of what SJ is doing with her whole Pulse Chain tour and everything going on. Like it's all about connecting people, right? It's about getting people together, and that's also a part of why I personally really love Pulse Chain, because the space, the group of people around here are very, number one, smart. Number two, they're out to help each other. They're out to be together with people, and yeah, I know I'm kind of ranting a little bit here, so I'll go ahead and move it back over to you guys. But I'm fired up for it, guys, and let's just keep going with it.
I might have a short attention span, but I missed where you said the Degen Round Table met up with the Forge. When was that? How did that come about?
Oh, yeah. So I've got a couple of groups that I'm in. I actually had CEO of Mango Swap. He reached out to me and he was interested. The same way that you were interested in Degen Round Table. It kind of seems to be a running theme at this point. Like, who's these Degen Round Table guys? And ended up meeting up there. And he's like, I got to get you in touch with Mark, blah, blah, blah. And we happened to meet up that way. And it's like, hey, this is the thing we're doing. And I'm like, this is a great idea. And yeah, we just took it from there. That's quite literally what it was.
Awesome.
Simple.
Elle says, is Forge going to operate like every other top launchpad, DAO makers, Seedify, Ape Terminal, etc.? I mean, allocation rules, vesting, etc. Would appreciate to hear a bit more about general mechanics. Good question, Elle.
So I think no is the short answer, because it's a network. It's not one platform where you go and then people will review and vote together where to allocate funds or not, right? It's a network of different entities. So the Forge is only there to vet and review the projects. There's no pool of funds where then the DAO votes to send the funds to, right? So every person who wants to invest or sacrifice or whatever they want to do, that's their own choice, right? That's the first part. So the second part is that everything in this network is actually voluntary. As we said before, I mean, a project doesn't even need to come to be vetted on the platform. I mean, they could do a regular sacrifice where they just say, we're doing a sacrifice, but we're using just the smart contract, and maybe people will do it, right? But what I believe will happen is that the projects that use the entire service properly will get funded, right? So if you say, okay, I'm gonna come to get vetted, and the analysts will review us, and we have a plan of we're going to use this smart contract, and we're going to have these what's it called, milestones, and we're gonna lock up our tokens in a kind of a vesting contract for the founders and all these kind of things. If we do all of these, we will get a high rating from the analysts, and therefore people will likely invest in us or sacrifice for us if we have a good rating. But it's all voluntary. There's no single platform that says, oh, this is the cap for the raise, right? This is up for the project. They can go to the smart contract. They can say, this is the cap. They can decide whether they need to reach the cap or not. Maybe if they don't reach it, they return the money because they don't have enough money to do the thing, right? So this is all the project. It's basically like a sacrifice where a project gets to decide whatever it wants to do, and it needs to convince the people to sacrifice the money to it, right? But we give it all these tools in between that it can use to increase accountability, right? And also improve its communications and everything. And if you use all of that, it's still the same individual in the end that chooses if they want to sacrifice or invest in the project. So I think it's quite different from the other launchpads, even the decentralized DAOs that are out there.
And supporting your point there, I think about one of Degen's favorite questions is when. They're always asking when is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? With the basic idea being they just want to know what is going on. They want to have an idea of what's the liquidity going to be? What DEX is it launching on? What time? What's the address? All that type of stuff. And if you go through this whole process and answer all of these questions and have them laid out for you, the Degens are going to want to go into something where they know what's going on, or at least have more of an idea of what's going on than just the stuff that's, hey, give us the money and then we'll see what happens. So, I mean, this could be something that even the craziest of degenerates look for, because they're like, at least I have some data, as opposed to just buy the contract address and hope and pray.
Yeah, because your only other option is really to be in the Telegram of all of these projects as things are unfolding with the founders, right?
Degen.
Yeah, are you really going to follow like 60,000 telegrams, right? And be checking them all the time? That's not possible. So, yeah, of course. So, anyways, I was going to say we got a giveaway of a couple NFTs, Mark, and let's see, what were the requirements for that? That was to watch the last video to the end.
Yes,
right? And
exactly.
then also to tweet,
to leave a comment on your video, which I'm not sure if anyone has done. And then the last requirement was to come to our Curator Telegram and leave questions there. So we've got quite a few good questions over there. Mm-hmm. Let me quickly. So we have 2 winners. Mandingo actually picked the winners just now and sent them to me.
Awesome.
You want me to just, I'll just say the names here, huh?
Yeah.
So we have Elnara. Her question was, since I have been on IDO Boom and Launchpad Boom on BSC, I feel the Curator has done what the best IDO platforms like Bluezilla, Starter, just to name a few, had done after the launch of their platform. So everything is in advance, 5 stars for that. My question will be, as no question arises about how will you choose the project because you have the best review platform. How long would you incubate and watch the projects that launch on Curator, since there will be a vesting period for the token distribution? Because some launchpads, I personally feel, the vesting will be for 6 to 12 months, but mostly the projects will go to zero in a couple of months. And my good luck for the team. Sorry, there's a bit of punctuation missing, but it is going to be the best. It's going to be the best launchpad of Pulse Chain. So yeah, she's basically asking how do we incubate and watch these projects through Curator, and how long will it take, and will things like vesting and stuff like that be decided? I've answered that question in quite a lot of detail in the Curator chat. So I think unless you guys want me to answer it here, I think people can go check it out on the platform.
Well, I think that the incubator period is determined by the project, right? They come out and they say this is our time period that we're looking at, and so forth. And then also, hey Josh, welcome.
Josh.
Hey, how you guys doing?
What's up, Josh?
Sitting around on Super Bowl Sunday, enjoying the conversation, and I thought, you know what? I got a little bit of time. If I can add value to the conversation, I'm all about it. So
Get in here. Well, and this is the first time we've had chocolate Tates on Tech Talk, so it's a momentous occasion for all of us.
Shout out.
Hey, Josh, how about those Ravens in the Super Bowl, eh?
yeah, I mean, obviously they got rolled by the Chiefs. You know, Ravens didn't show. I live in Baltimore, so I got season tickets for the Ravens. So I was at the AFC Championship game for a short while. My little brother got kicked out, but that's a little side note. So I only got to watch like the first quarter. But yeah, the Chiefs rolled them, and I said, hey, if the Ravens lose, I wanted to cheer for the Lions. Lions lost, so I'm going to a Super Bowl party tonight, but I don't really care who wins. So.
Taylor Swift will win.
Try to get back in and finish what I was thinking with Mark real quick about the incubation period and the vesting schedule, because there is an opportunity for people who engage with this on one point or another, either as an influencer or analyst or a council member, to receive some of the token allocation, right? And so myself, we've been discussing possibly sharing some of our token allocation with the team that we're working with, and we're setting up vesting schedules, right? Because usually if people are willing to do work in return for your token, they're using it as a form of income. So you're planning on any of that token that you're giving away being dumped, right? And so usually what you want to do is set up a vesting schedule with these people saying, look, I'll give you 1% of my tokens, but I'm not going to give it to you when I launch because I don't want the chart to dump, but I'll give it to you over the next year or two. And so I'm wondering if the vesting question had to do with if the team was going to get those tokens on a vesting schedule or all at once.
Yes, and so as with everything, it's up to the team to do that, right? And it's connected to the incubation question. So the incubation is part of the review process. And if a project theoretically comes in and everything's already perfect, they've done everything, they get a 5-star rating, the whole thing can be done in a week or two, and they can start their race, right? And there doesn't have to be any incubation. But most projects are not like that. And they come in and they get really bad ratings. And again, we've reviewed over 100 projects already, and usually that incubation part ends up being 2, 3, 4 months of them getting reviews and then improving things and changing things. And very often the projects actually end up hiring some of the analysts and boarding them onto their team because they're so knowledgeable and they are lacking this knowledge, right? So that incubation can happen. Very often, actually, teams are just missing vesting or they have really weird vesting for their teams just because they don't know any better, and then they show it to analysts, and the analysts are you crazy? 6 months vesting, you're crazy, that everybody can run away with that. And then they're like, I didn't know. And then they change it to 2 years, something like that, right? So
what Paul's right, thinking about your premise there too, about, if you're going to give a team allocation, you're going to give it to people, most of them are going to dump it or whatever. I think that's generally true. But for sure, it's more applicable to meme style tokens or tokens that are just community based or, something that doesn't have utility. Whereas something like this, NFTs are more utility based, and the token also is utility based too. So while I'm sure a certain percentage of tokens will be dumped by people if price were to appreciate or they were to make profit or whatever, but there is an underlying utility inside of this mechanism that in and of itself might even be valuable to it too. What is the valuation of the NFTs, the real true market valuation of the NFTs, for instance, when you have no idea what these projects are going to give to you as an NFT holder, and you have no idea how they're going to succeed in the future, or if they're going to fail, how much money they're going to make. So there's no way to determine that. And you might find that actually the market price of the whatever asset is undervalued as compared to just holding it for its utility. So, not to say that that's for sure that's going to happen or anything, but these are factors that are making this unique and a bit of an exception to that premise in my mind.
Yeah, cool. Let's shout out to Mobius in chat, Ascending Man's back saying hi. Mr. Angry Twinkie says super exciting and interesting and exciting project. Good to have you, Mr. Angry Twinkie. Did you want to, not to put you on the spot, but Josh, do you want to give us your crypto journey, your origin tale of how you stumbled into the degens and this world of depravity?
Yeah, I can certainly do that. So my crypto journey started in 2020. I came into the space. I was a real estate investor already, but I was taking a look at ways to sort of grow my money in other facets as well. And I had gone through a divorce probably a couple months prior to, so I purchased another house. And I had a buddy that decided, hey, he needed a roommate. So I just let him move into one of my upstairs bedrooms. He was super involved in the crypto space, and I didn't really consider it at the time. But, through having more and more conversations with him, I started to learn a little bit more. And then that little spark that he created, it sent me down the rabbit hole of YouTube. Ended up finding Charlie and Miguel's streams, through other various influencers that aren't necessarily affiliated with the crypto space. And ended up, joining one of the crypto mindset courses, did a couple of those, and really began to focus on technical analysis and fundamental analysis. I've always been extremely financially savvy. I've always been super interested in how economics work. So it was like a perfect fit for me. I'm very analytical. And then, Nate, what crypto mindset course was it? It was Q2.
It was Q2 of 2023. That's what it was.
Yeah. Anyway, so we are all in this little crypto mind. Yeah, right around the Pulse Chain launch, whatever the crypto mindset course was there. But yeah, just talking with a couple of the guys in the chat. Next thing you know, I had an invite to this casino chat. And it was a group of 20 of us. And yeah, I mean, Nate already somewhat gave the story, but decided to create a YouTube channel. And yeah, it's been awesome ever since. So that's pretty much been mine. And what's great about our community, and I don't want to plug the Degen Round Table too much, but I have to say this, like the big sticking point with us is we all have a difference of opinions. Like my strategy is totally different from Nate's. It's totally different from Zenith's, Will's, Brendan's, Jay's. It's different from everybody. So like I have a very strict conservative portfolio, and I have coins that I only focus on, where Nate might be jumping around, throwing scratchers here, throwing scratchers there. But me, I have a finite amount of time and attention that I want to devote. So I'm going to put 100% of that into the coins that I've allocated in my portfolio. And I don't really venture outside of that. So, but yeah, that's me. I'm, I know very little about a lot, but there is a lot I know about very little. I like to say it like that. So.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll show the Degen Round Table. You guys are pitifully undersubscribed. You guys probably deserve to be at least up to where I am, if not further, because you guys are covering some really valuable information. In fact, Mr. Angry Twinkie says Mark's overview on Degen Round Table stream last week was very informative. And he also says, well said, Josh. So you guys have a super fan here in comments. And thank you for bringing us up there. Shout out to Dollar Cost Crypto, Miguel. He's a heck of a guy. I've enjoyed hanging out with him in Vegas a couple times, and he's very informative.
Yeah, we had Mark on for 10 or 15 minutes on Wednesday. It was awesome getting to meet him, hearing the stuff that he was doing, and we're looking. Yeah, I'm not breaking anything here, am I, Nate? I'm not. No. Okay, cool. So we're actually going to have him back on our channel in 2 weeks, I believe. 2 weeks, for our next Whiskey Wednesday stream. He's going to be hanging out for us for 45 minutes or so, and Nate's going to be hosting that. It's going to be awesome. So, yeah, I mean, just all the partnerships that we've been able to create, all the cool people. You know, this time last year, I was just a guy sitting around watching more YouTube videos. The next thing I know, I'm in a group now. We're talking to these people. We're interviewing them. We're bouncing ideas off of each other. And it's so cool. And I think it's imperative for anybody to, pick up Twitter, pick up Instagram, create a YouTube, start creating content, making partnerships, and, because a group that's close is going to succeed. Because, if you have a group of numbers, it's always going to do better than a solo, so anybody that's sort of going by their own way, that, there are very few success stories, but when you have a solid group behind you and when you have people that are focused on one mission, I mean, it's awesome. So.
Well said, John.
And
Very
the
nice.
spiel.
And I think that's I love that position and that attitude towards this. I was going to say the other thing is, like you were saying, to add to what you were saying about community. If you can gauge crypto's community, you can basically predict what the price chart's going to be just by how strong their community is, and that's something that it's really hard to measure. I mean, there's places like Social Blade, and you can look at number of wallets and things like that. But really just getting into their streams, their Telegram chats, or if they have meetups like the Pulse Chain Tour, when you meet these people in person and you see, okay, these guys have the same fire in their belly that I do, and they're a little bit obsessive like I am, you can like really put a lot more faith into that community. Right. DJ Cryptomatic says Pulse Ray all suited up and booted. Nice. Thank you. Daniel Polk's in the house. Good to see you, buddy. So what other questions you guys have for Mark or about this, the platform, or what would you guys like to see going forward with the engagement of different communities?
You got anything on this, Josh? Any questions you wanted to ask?
I'm gonna wait a couple minutes to form my question. So if you guys want to go first, like if we were about to get dinner, I'd be like, "Hey, go with the other table." Go around.
I was thinking along the lines of what you guys were just saying there. Like what I like to say is, this technology was largely invented to eliminate the need for trust. It's trustless. You don't need anyone. But in this sea of trustlessness, the thing that people most want is a little bit of trust because they have none. So what we're going to be looking for in these networks is some people that provide you a little bit of value that you can, in a way, trust. It's against what Richard Hart says and what the Maxi narratives are, but you actually kind of get like the most value out of these little circles, that you can find people that aren't snakes, that aren't trying to extort value from you. They're trying to add value. And so these little communities and stuff like this are great to promote and great to be a part of, because instead of trying to get your money, they're trying to get you money, and in this sea where you're getting overflowed with information from all sides, and it's crazy the amount of time you would need to spend it all. It would be great to have a little group of people that you can kind of trust a little bit to give you the best information. And that's just human nature. That's what we're looking for. So it's ironic that we invented this technology to solve that problem, but then once the problem is solved, we're all kind of looking back to go towards the trusted system. And that's kind of what Curator is doing here, is giving you this trusted system of knowledge, of information from people, and then they're incentivized to do that knowledge through this system of checks and balances and stuff like that. So I love how that all works together, and it's kind of like a realization that people need to accept and have, is despite there being no need for trust, people still want it.
I mean, humans are going to human, that?
Right.
And that's ultimately, I mean, we're social creatures and we ultimately for hundreds of thousands of years have always had some kind of trust between peer, right? So Curator reminds me a lot of, and actually kind of the Forge itself reminds me a lot of how eBay originally did their thing, right? So originally the entire idea of eBay was we're going to have a place where one person can sell something to another person, and it's just the seller and buyer. That's it. However, obviously there's a lot of scams going on back then too. And this is way early back in history of the internet, right? And there's a lot of unfortunate things going on because, again, that kind of trust, right? People are going to take advantage. If there is no trust, people are going to take advantage of that. And so what eBay's way of trying to counter this was to get other people's feedback on that particular seller. If I'm trying to sell something, I better have good feedback. Otherwise, if I have bad feedback and people are like, yeah, this guy's scamming the heck out of us, right? You're not going to be buying from him. And it was a great idea. And I'm kind of seeing parallels here of Curator, the Forge, and kind of like how eBay started. And you know how big eBay is now. So I'm just saying. Maybe I am saying. Maybe I'm not. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's very similar comparison, but I also see it kind of different in the way too, very opposite style, because as eBay grew, it actually got like more centralized, and the Forge and all of this is actually seeking to work in that opposite model, where we're going to start a little bit more centralized to start because we have these smaller amount of people, the smaller group that's just starting it out. But as more projects come, as more analysts come, as more people get involved, as more people say were to distribute their NFTs or give them to their community and stuff, you're designing it to get more decentralized. And ideally, we go centralized over time rather than centralized. I think that's kind of the big difference. But along the lines of them being like eBay and the models that eBay tried to use, like, yeah, that's simply definitely type of stuff that we would want to apply to this, because that was very successful in blowing up their project. And the community feedback aspect is such a huge part of this that you want to definitely get involved, because you're getting it from all unique perspectives.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so basically, if you build it, they will come. Like Fill the Dreams, right?
Right.
Let me give a shout out to Mark Avelli. He says, "Pamp it." He's ready to go to the moon. But yeah, I when I saw all the work and effort that Mark and his team had put into this platform already, and thinking about the way that they could have a trustworthy community where the incentives to do right outweighed the incentives to do wrong. I was really impressed, and I thought this is a great place for our community. We have such a loud and energetic community in Pulse and Hex, and sometimes that energy is pointed at the wrong direction. But if we could focus all of our energy on something like the Forge, something like Curator, then we could really, 1 + 1 = 100, right? Not 1 + 1 = 2. So that's what I saw, the vision that I saw when
That's
I
why
started.
I'm here, man. Love it.
Yeah, zero gravity, zero, or it's zero something, zero negative, zero negative. It always melts my mind when I see his name. It says that's the Mandela effect, and is and always was. If you build it, he will come. Love it. And then Danny Boy says, Muck G Live Fam. I'm not sure what Muck G is, or if that's just a a misspell.
Everybody too old on the panel to keep up with the talk. I don't know.
Love it.
Cool. So we mentioned both winners. The first winner was
Elnara.
Right.
And the second one we had
another question, so I don't think we announced the second one, did we?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
So the second is Moonmutt.
Moonmutt,
yes. And his question was, what will the vetting process be for new projects? So yeah, I did also, if you want to read that up, go to the chat, and there's a very long description of the detail. We can go through it here more in detail if you guys want, but we've already discussed it quite a bit. What do you guys think?
That write-up is really good in the chat. I definitely recommend they read that, because that covers all of the details that you could possibly imagine. I would imagine if you had any specific questions, they're probably answered in that text.
You're talking about the Telegram, right?
Yeah. Mark wrote a big, long message.
Why don't you actually pull it up and kind of hit the main points of it? Because I do like the way that it's organized, and I do like the way that it kind of walks people through the whole ecosystem, because it's hard to look at it all at once without a path of going around the circle.
You mean you want me to show the platform?
No, the Telegram method, that big Telegram post where you were describing it,
The message.
And then
okay, cool.
Jump through that, and we'll go through that, because like I said, that is a good way of taking into bite-sized pieces and seeing where one piece leads and connects to the other.
Yeah, and rather than have you try to just go off the top of the head with this, that you had it perfectly structured and laid out right there.
Yeah, Danny Boy's driving in the British Columbian mountains.
Where
Can't
was
text.
this was her question.
I love seeing the art in that chat as well. Did you want to talk at all about that? I mean, we talked a little bit about the artists
Sure.
yesterday.
Yeah, I can mention it again. So here's the question. What will the vetting process be for new projects? So this is actually, I just took this out of our white paper, so people can go check out the white paper. But yeah, so it's, do you want me to read it through, or I'll just explain it again, or what?
Yeah.
Maybe you could just summarize it up, or
Either way, people love to be spoon-fed, Mark.
Okay, I'll read it.
Yeah,
I'll read it. So the initial project, it starts all with the initial project submission and review process. When a project kicks off with the Forge, they set up a profile and share all the key information, their pitch, white paper, website, and socials. These submissions are carefully handled in the back end to sift through any and identify any improper entities. So we will just, if it's not a proper submission, we'll take it out. The private spotlight section. Once a project is in, and I think I showed this at the very beginning, or I showed it in yesterday's stream.
You covered it.
Once a project is in, it heads to the spotlight. This is a private space where the first round of reviews, called micro reviews, happens. Analysts get notified of the new projects and review them in blind mode without seeing each other's reviews. So their feedback is unbiased. I quickly want to stop here. So as I said, we have many different types of reviews, and the first one is usually a micro review. And we don't really want people to spend hours on researching a project. We used to have that where people would put a project into a spotlight just to share it with other, analysts. And then it was a bad project that might have 1 or 2 star, and everyone came and did like lots of in-depth reviews and stuff like that. So we spent a lot of time on bad projects. And that's why I said, let's change it around and have a micro review. And we tell people, don't spend more than 30 minutes on this, just go over it. And then a project needs to first get at least a certain amount of 3-star plus micro reviews before we then spend much more time on it. So this was a very important innovation, I think, that happened in the last year. So yeah, the micro review phase means a project first undergoes evaluation by 2 analysts. If both give it just 1 star, the process holds and feedback is provided to the project founders. But if it scores 2 stars or more, we bring in more analysts to take a closer look. Escalating quality focus. We're all about digging into projects with promise. If a project doesn't wow the analysts at first, they can tweak their info or even offer cash rewards or AMAs to get more in-depth analysis. This happens a lot, that new projects, they don't have their website developed well or decks or stuff like that. So very often they get 1 or 2 stars because the analysts just don't really know what the project is about.
And there's an enormous network of people that do charge for AMAs. Like they charge huge hundreds, thousands of dollars just to go into their audience and have their audience ask them questions.
Yeah. So this is what can happen here. As soon as they have an AMA, usually the analysts understand it much more, and it gives the project a lot because it starts understanding how it has to present the project so people actually understand it. Then is the in-depth review and incubation. Projects that hit at least 3.5 stars move into a more thorough review phase. Here, a broader group of analysts scrutinizes the project across various categories, simulating an incubation period. It's a collaborative phase where projects and analysts refine and perfect the project's presentation and strategy. So yeah, again, in this early phase, we do micro reviews. In this phase, the analysts will do reviews in different categories, like the tokenomics or the team or the technology and things like that. This usually takes several months. And during this time, also often the project kind of ends up hiring people from the community, from the analysts. Cure tokens fueling honest reviews. Analysts lock up Cure tokens as a commitment to their role, which also subjects them to penalty risk for any misconduct, including biased reviews. Donors, on the other hand, donors or investors, on the other hand, lock up Cure tokens to receive weekly super upvotes proportional to their stake, influencing review weight and earning better project allocations. This mechanism ensures donors exercise their voting power judiciously, as they can be slashed for misbehavior. Summarizing this again, a project might have 20 reviews that are written from analysts, but it's the investors and the donors that get these super upvotes, and they upvote the reviews they think are the best. And those are the ones that carry the heaviest weight and kind of float to the top. So if a project wanted to bribe this entire process, they would have to bribe both a lot of analysts and a lot of investors as well, which will be very hard. And I explained before that even if they can do that, we still have the council with the NFTs that can come in and ban and slash these analysts and the investors if they think they're being bribed. And even if it can bypass all of this, then the funds will still be frozen if the project doesn't achieve its milestones. So there's really a lot of safety guards in place to make sure projects cannot scam and cannot rug pull and cannot run away.
And who's in charge of unlocking those funds from escrow?
That is so it will. Sorry, I'm just going to stop the screen. So it will happen automatically based on the time schedule that they put in, and the NFT
smart contract.
The smart contract, yeah. And the NFT holders have the chance to come and block the release if the project doesn't deliver on the milestones. Sorry, guys, I have a little bit of a cold, so I'm
That's okay. And with the smart contracts, do they allow for delays? Because I mean, everyone gets delayed in crypto, right?
Yes.
Code is hard, and money related to code is extra hard because there's more people trying to get at it and hack
The
it
unknown
or
unknowns.
exploits. So does a smart contract, like if I'm a week or a month late on getting my audit or code done, does a smart contract work around that, or do you have like multi-sig?
No. I mean, having multiple NFTs connect to vote is almost like a multi-sig, I guess. But it's going to be so. It's going to become. This is going to be an evolving, ever more complex smart contract, right? With more and more features adding. So the first features will probably be much more limited. Eventually, obviously, the project should have an option to extend timelines and push them further back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, only to a certain degree, because if it doesn't deliver on any milestones and it just pushes it back forever and people never get their money back, that also doesn't work, right? But that's one thing they can do. The other thing is they can just convince the community and the NFT holders that they are doing a lot, that they do need the money to continue working, and to please not block the funds, right? So they just have to be very open and transparent about everything they do. But if they just run away, do nothing, don't say anything, and don't tell anyone anything, then the NFTs can come in and block and return the funds.
Cool. And Josh, did you have something you wanted to throw in here?
Yeah, I can't even begin to explain how important a project like this is. So when you think of cryptocurrency, when you think about it in general, the biggest black eye that cryptocurrency faces is the rug pulls and the subpar projects that are going around. 90 to 95% of these projects they're either designed to be rug pulls, or they're just subpar. Their projects created because somebody was bored and they have no real use case, or it's a very weak use case. And we're getting to a point to where adoption is there. We already have Bitcoin ETFs out there. We have Ethereum spot ETF rumors that are coming around the corner. There are already people that are saying May of 2024 is when the Ethereum ETFs are going to be coming out. So adoption is there. Now, of course, a lot of people can look towards what institutional banks are putting their money behind. They're putting it behind the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, sometimes Solana and stuff like that. But we really don't have a project or a team or anything really in place right now to really vet out those weak projects, those rug pulls from the ones that deserve time, deserve attention, and have real income potential. And just like you said earlier, Pulse Ray, people love to be spoon-fed information. So to be able to package all this stuff together and, have that information out there, it's extremely important. And I think something like this is coming around at the perfect time, especially given all the macro event news that we have coming around, and the adoption that is taking place now and that will continue to take place over the next couple of years. It's just extremely important, and it's due. The time has come, and it's well due. I think it's perfect timing.
Look at the professionalism of Mark as a founder as compared to the rest of the Pulse Chain community and the people that we have involved too. I always celebrate this guy as the dude that we want to have more personalities like this involved. It's way more professional, way more appealing to outside communities to deal with somebody like Mark than some other people in the community,
Well, see, here's the thing about Mark. Like, I'm Mark, I'm going to go ahead and say this. You're honest, right? The thing that you're trying to create is literally what I would call your personality. And every single time I've been talking with you, I can really tell. It's like the honesty oozes out of you. You're purposely trying to make something to help people. I'm just saying, right? But
bro, if you rug us, we're gonna be so disappointed.
I'd be so disappointed in you. Why'd you do this, Mark?
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, guys.
Going back to what Josh was saying about people like to be spoon-fed, we were looking at some real estate syndicates, right? So syndication is basically where you throw your money into a project, but you're hands off, right? And the problem with looking into syndications is they don't follow the same template or platform. And so when you're trying to compare one real estate deal with another, it's you have to like make your own spreadsheet. You have to do your own homework to compare what's going on.
Such a great point.
With Mark and this the platform, as Rihanna Keeves is saying, creators on the desktop, perfect place for it. This can make people like easily identify what they like, what they don't like, and compare these projects side by side instead of, like you guys said, going to the Telegram, reading the white paper, all that stuff. These analysts in the community are helping to distill this into digestible information.
And like you were just saying too, there's different roles for everybody to play based on how much they want to get involved. If you want to be heavily involved, there's a role for you. If you want to have a more passive involvement, there's a role for you. If you want to just be completely hands off for the most part, there's a role for you too in this. So there's not, some people have excess time. Some people don't have excess time. Some people have excess money. Some people don't have excess money. And everybody can provide value here because there's a role for you in this ecosystem somewhere, most likely.
I actually would like to at Pulse Vision, I think you're I would like to add to this. I mean, from the very beginning, kind of one of the thoughts that we had when we created Curator was reviewing a single. I got into crypto maybe properly, maybe three years ago, or a bit more than 3 years now. And I was working with our animation studio. We were creating animations for some really high-tech kind of crypto projects and animating how they actually work, kind of the underlying technology. And as we were doing that, I kind of started looking, at the ranking of what are the top projects and which one should be good and so forth, and wanted to invest a little bit. And I started realizing that if I start at number 1 Bitcoin and then go down, I don't get very far, right? Because just researching Solana, for example, one of the top 10, it takes weeks, like going to read through these white papers and all the different people's comments. And I mean, to make a real judgment about a project will take you weeks. And if you do that, you're just never going to get anywhere. I mean, you're not going to get through the top 20 in a month or two, right? Forget about. And one of the projects I was working for was a huge project, a cross-chain layer 2, really the only cross-chain layer 2 that I knew, with tens of millions in funding, ex-Google heads as their tech developers, 150 people team kind of stuff, and they were number 900 on the ranking, So I was like, how can you ever find these crazy projects in this abyss, right? And if you do the math on it, that it takes you a week to get even a shallow understanding of a project, going over thousands of projects, it's just an impossible task. And then that's when we realized, well, there is thousands and thousands of people doing this work. It's just everyone is doing it on their own. There is no place that collects all that information in a proper way. But the work is being done. So we're just creating the platform that allows everyone to share that information. Some guys might just do a little research. They can be one of the kind of micro review first filter guys who just say, look at this, and this makes no sense, And if 20 guys say that, then maybe the tokenomics veteran doesn't need to come in and look at this project, right? But if we all find our way, what we are the expert in, and we all work together, thousands of analysts working together, going through all these projects, eventually we will be able to consume all of this, to understand everything, to identify the most valuable, the best projects that actually want to do great stuff, and properly support them, right? Whereas right now, I've been going around all these crypto events and talking to projects and looking for investors and all of this kind of stuff. And you can just feel how it's not the best projects that get funded and get made, it's actually, I think it's a lot more cynical than that, right? A lot of
it's all bribes. You can say that. Bribes. You can just say it's all bribes, Mark.
It is really bad. No, and sometimes it's even like investors are looking for projects that will rock pull and dump, because for them, they take out the money. It's the CEO or the founder or whatever who takes the fall, right? So it's for them. I don't want to get too much into this, but it is really, it's not at all an environment where the great projects get funding. Maybe I want to, Josh, you said you like economics, right? And I studied economics. I studied economics of development, and I'm quite passionate about it. And for me, there's a place for investors, and there's a place for entrepreneurs and businesses. They should create products that enrich people's lives, right? And make people's life better. And the investors should fund that, right? To make everyone's life better. That's the idea of the economy. But that has shifted now quite heavily, where investors in this whole VC world, it's a thing that they will only invest in companies that can become, unicorns, that become billion-dollar companies, right? They will not even look at anything else. They want to make that much money. But there's only very, very few types of projects and companies that can ever do that, right? So the whole thing skews into projects being funded to really just hyper maximize profits in a way where the projects and the companies, they have to change their business models to be much more extracting from the society, right?
And in the traditional finance world, what they refer to this as just simply creating liquidity. So what these guys all consider themselves as are liquidity hunters, and that's what the real money is they don't look for demand. They don't look for a marketplace. They look for a place where they can create liquidity. And liquidity is most easily created via a narrative. And a narrative doesn't necessarily have to be true. So they can just create this and take advantage of this mechanisms that you're describing here. It's essentially exploiting the system. It is a bug of the system that you can do this because it's a part of how this all works. You can't avoid it. So by putting these platforms out here and stuff, you're mitigating a lot of these issues, because it's just almost like human nature. Again, this is what's going to happen otherwise.
And Mark, you had mentioned the abyss, and the abyss is a very real thing. The ether, the abyss, the black hole, the space where all these coins and all this stuff is. And what we can really take a look at the human mind and human behavior if we just take a look at what happened in the restaurant industry during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I want to draw this comparison to the project here, is what we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic, specifically with restaurants, is that there was a lot of restaurant failures. the ones that stuck around and provided the big change, the biggest things that they changed was their menu. They went from these large 2, 3, 4-page menus to a much more compact, simpler menu that gave you less options. And that drove success in the post-COVID-19 era. And I think that is definitely something that you can apply to what the project is here, where you're taking that abyss and you're shrinking it down. You're providing something that's more digestible to folks that don't want so many options. Don't get me wrong, options can be great at times, but more often than not, you're going to have more success if you're selling something with maybe a fewer options than an abyss load of options. So, what's up, Maddie?
What's up?
Hi, hello.
Maddie, I see what you did there with the X. I get it. False X.
Hell yeah.
It's the X.com.
Hey,
Twitter,
Maddie,
formerly known as. Yeah.
Yeah, formerly known as.
do you want to introduce yourself for anyone who doesn't know who you are, Maddie?
I'm a guy with a hat. And I put on the Hex conference and the pulsechainconference.com. Former therapist. And I've been financially free from Hex for better or worse, married to it for an average of 12.9 years. And just loving the crypto community that we've all built here.
Everybody knows Maddie.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're here. As I said on Twitter, we got the big brains on Tech Talk, and I wanted to ask you guys a question that's been on my mind for the last 8 years, which is, when do you guys think that a project is going to be strong enough to break the 4-year boom and bust cycle of the halving? Or when are we going to see something strong enough to not get shot into the atmosphere and dragged down to the depths of hell every 4 years?
It's going to be retail.
It's an interesting idea, because if you think about the 4-year cycle, the thing that the economics and the mechanics of what make the 4-year cycle what it is, specifically with Bitcoin, is the Bitcoin halving. So when Bitcoin halves, that's when you sort of get the parabolic move, and that's based off of economics, right? It's a supply and demand thing at that point. So when the demand shrinks by half, that's typically what will cause Bitcoin to make that parabolic move coming out of the halving. And then we'll have, 6 months to a year and a half, depending on what it is, of this euphoria phase before it breaks down. So when you and Bitcoin's been the main swinger, the main mover. It's been the number one since its inception, and all things are lined up behind Bitcoin. So I think in order for something like that to occur, I think it's going to have to supersede Bitcoin. It's going to have to take it over in market cap, and it's going to have to create its own cycle that isn't based solely on the halving mechanics moving forward. Now, that's just me. Again, basement economist, you know what I'm saying? Economist, basement, but yeah, I'm interested to hear what the other panelists.
Along this line, I have controversial opinions about all this, not the norm, but I don't like Bitcoin. And I see Bitcoin as kind of a hindrance on all of us as crypto, as the king of crypto. And you could really kind of just think about it simply through Hart's law, through the liquidity bonding. Because BTC is linked to ETH, ETH is then dependent on its price. And then ETH is impacting all the EVMs. And then all the EVMs are impacting all the tokens built on top of it. So what really you're talking about here, if we were to get away from BTC, is that the community would actually go away from Bitcoin as the king, would choose another project to be that one that is not the thing that ever the market is dependent upon. And I see Bitcoin as actually a big hindrance upon us as all of this, while it has the built-in economics because of the halvening that comes in, that in order to keep the same network security, you're going to need to bid that valuation up in order to incentivize the miners, because they get less income as the halvening goes on over the years. But at a certain point, if they don't bid it up, then the security of the network could go down as miners leave. They could leave it more vulnerable. So it's like almost like a ticking time bomb of, will they just keep bidding it up to keep it alive? or at some point will it just stop? And in my opinion, some point it's going to stop, and they're gonna stop funding it, and that thing's going to get abandoned, and that's what's going to cause the harm to all the rest of crypto. So what I would like to see is us all move away from the old, slow, outdated, expensive, mostly useless technology and transition to something more that was utility based, that was a better project that we all value and could use. A layer one is a much better value proposition than a Bitcoin meme token. And I think that's the Trojan horse of all of this, is to get us locked into this token, which now all these bad actors are a big holder of and a part of. We got governments who are the biggest cheats of all time, and they hold all of these tokens now, which they could dump. So as a community, what I'd like to see is us get away from Bitcoin, go to something else, almost anything else, but I don't like Bitcoin.
Well, see, here's the thing about that, right? So you're completely correct. Technically speaking, the institutions, right, big money, like trillions, big money. They've and governments of the world have been, and I've been saying this for a while. It's like you've got Bitcoin here where you can't control it, right? So if you can't control something, what do? You put a fence around it. Okay. So what the governments and these institutions are doing is they're putting a fence around it, saying, hey, anybody who's going into Bitcoin, now you're going to be controlled in an uncontrollable space, right? And so what they're going to do is, as you were saying, as miners are leaving, who's buying? All the institutions. The largest amount of miners right now are governments and institutions, right? The big money. Those are the most amount of miners. And so what they're going to do is they're going to start controlling Bitcoin, saying, hey, it's our thing now. Now they have ETFs where it's like, hey, we bought the Bitcoin. It's ours now. If you want some, here's a paper that says that you now have it, right? Yeah. That's what's going on. And so this is the reason why something like, Hex is technically better, because, I mean, I guess they technically, institutions could do the same thing there, but think about just how slow moving of a process this is, right? Bitcoin's been around for 12 years, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, it's been around for quite actually, I think it's 13, 15, whatever. But it's been around for a long time
15
at this point.
now.
15. So it's been around for a long time, and they're just now getting that fence built around it. Like, I mean,
to me, I just feel like there's misnomers around how this all works, man, because everyone pitches Bitcoin as decentralized. That's what the whole narrative behind it. But if you pull the layers back and you go deep dive into it, you find that the developers behind it there's a very small centralized pool. The mining pools are centralized. The hardware production is centralized. The hardware distribution is centralized. The ownership is highly centralized. 2% of wallets own 93% of all Bitcoin. Like, there's just massive centralization all across all the metrics, all the valuable metrics that you look at. The liquidity pools are all centralized. They're on centralized exchanges and stuff. So, like, this is all a lie. The narratives that are built up, that are sold about it to onboard people, are false. It's a deception to me, largely. Now, they're good about it, and it invented this technology, and like, we should be thankful for it, but it's old and outdated at this point. And we're being fed this in order to manipulate us, to use it against us, in my opinion.
Yeah. And here's the thing about that, right? Because that's old, and the institutions are just now being able to get around it. Why can't they control crypto? I'm going to tell you why right now. It's because we move way too fast. Dude, like, how many new advanced technologies have come out in crypto in the past 15 years since Bitcoin?
How many layer ones are there?
Yeah, right. And they're just now getting a hold of Bitcoin. It's like, dude, if you want to try and control us, like, they're going to have to do something it's like super extreme. Like, if you're involved in the crypto space of any kind, and this is going to have to be multiple governments around the world are going to have to do this, where it's like, if you're involved in the crypto space of any kind, without our consent, we're going to have to, like, point guns at you. Right?
They're going to have to. Are they going to remove all the Hex and HOA memes off of Twitter and all the accounts and stuff? Or are they just going to come down and censor everything? Like, it's not. They can't even do it.
Good luck. There's a lot more of us than there is of you. Good luck with that.
Well, there are really two very critical weak points for crypto right now. One is AWS. I mean, most of the servers are relying on third parties like AWS to run. So if the government called Amazon up one day and said, turn those off, that would that would be a huge hit and cripple for a while. The other one is GitLab. If they scrubbed GitLab or try to get rid of GitLab, that's where all the code's sitting right now, right?
Yeah.
So those are two, but I really like what Nate was saying earlier about what do you do when you can't control something? You build a fence around it, but you also sabotage it. You know, we saw things like Mt. Gox was just clearly an inside job and smells like the government. You've got the Bitcoin Cash debate and the what seems to be a taking over of the devs that hindered Bitcoin for years and years when Bitcoin could have been updated and advanced and made to handle peer-to-peer, but it wasn't, obviously.
Instead of fragmented into all of those communities.
Yeah. And then, of course, you've got FTX and the big exchanges that just keep on getting the legs taken out from under them. And then Silvergate and the other bank that was completely solvent that they completely stole. They shut it down and handed it was Silvergate and Silicon Valley. One of the other banks was completely solvent. They just took it out and handed it to their friends. So along
Maddie
with
and
that,
Mark, snap us back into reality, man. Let's get this degens out of here.
So you want to break the 4-year cycle?
Yeah, come on, Maddie, get in here.
Be careful what you wish for, right? Because maybe you could do it, right? Maybe you could get a collab between Taylor Swift and Richard Hart and Apple, and you could launch the perfect product that was so good that people had to FOMO into it, like the internet or AI or the iPhone 20,000. Right? And
Maddie, you promised you wouldn't tell all my ideas on stream.
Elon Musk, Paul Chain tattoo.
You asked. And Taylor Swift is getting Richard tattooed on her body, and Richard is getting Taylor Swift tattooed on his body, right? Like all of the stars are aligning, right? And so yeah, sure, you could do that. But now you're in some like Russian, Chinese, environment where why do you want to get rid of the 4-year cycle? The 4-year cycle is built into human psychology. It's how the inpatient transfer value to the patient. And so now what are you doing? You're just holding the price of everything the same. That's what the dollar, you can do that with the dollar, right? If you have such high liquidity in something that nobody can move against it, right? Like the dollar's backed by oil and stuff.
Volatility is a feature, not a bug.
The highest liquidity. I mean, you could do it, but then are you just rebuilding the old system? And I think that, going down 90% or going down 99% and then going up 10x or 1,000x after that, like that, maybe you tighten it up a little bit more. And that's a good thing. Maybe you are, So maybe you don't go up as much because you're getting more people in the middle or at the bottom. But the fact that people experience greed and stuff. And so, I mean, if you get people to time lock, that's something that's never been done at scale before. And so that'll be an interesting thing to see, because there's two sides to time locking. It can be a good thing and a bad thing not only when it comes to the individual, but when it comes to the system. You have all these lettuce hands that like now got 1,000x that they never would have gotten because they would have sold on a double. And so the market has to like adjust for all that. And so it's really interesting, and we're seeing history play out. But I think the experiments that can be done, not only and then you got Hex could have done better. Like I go look on chain and I look at how much was sacrificed for all these different projects, and I think about $100 million buy coming in, during the bear market, and I think Hex could have done really well. I mean, it got all the way up to 10 or 12 cents during the bear market after touching under 2 pennies. And so, I think, but again, it's up to the market, and the market decided that sacrificing was okay. Some of the sacrifices, they kept their Hex and wrote it down to the bottom, and they're still holding it. Others, and I'm talking about like sacrifices from 22, not BankX. That's another thing. But so you had some of that value was transferred. Like look at Mikey. It's on chain. It's on the documentary. He bought it 41 cents and then he was already in profit, a while back, even though PulseX hasn't hit SAC, because something new was created and it preserved some of the value that couldn't have been sold at the top of Hex. Like Hex had $32 million of liquidity at its all-time high. And like Toby Wan could have sold the price down to nothing himself, right? But like everybody was believing. And so it's like, $1.7 billion that was sacrificed for RH products couldn't have exited, couldn't have sold into dollars, because there was only $32 million in the liquidity pool. Exactly. So how cool is that all this value is transferred into something valuable like a Uniswap fork that actually buys and burns instead of paying out Andreessen Horowitz. And so I think that the more novel mechanisms that get invented, like Richard Hart's sacrifice for good shit and stuff like that, I think, and the time locking of Hex, these are things that can materially save people from themselves, save people from the 4-year cycle, so on and so forth.
Mark, I wanted to get your opinion on Bitcoin of what we were talking about originally, because I know when I applied to Curator, I think one of the biggest things that got me accepted as an analyst was that I had a 1-star review of Bitcoin, and every person that came through was giving a 5-star review of Bitcoin, and talking about how it's the next monetary system, blah, blah, they love it. And I came through and just trashed it. And the dudes, I think, really embraced it. I'm curious to get what your opinion is on Bitcoin.
Well, I definitely agree that it is very old technology by now, right? But I cannot help to marvel at it, at what it has started, right? I'm such a huge proponent of decentralization, not just for currencies, but across, the world. I think also in terms of government structures, I believe in federalism, and just huge centers of power, I think, are very, very bad almost everywhere that we look. So I'm a huge fan of Bitcoin in that kind of way, that it started all of this. And so I don't know if Bitcoin will survive or not, but yeah, I have a lot of admiration for it. Having said that, I mean, and that goes into, maybe I can also answer the question about the 4-year cycle, at least what I think. All of what everyone's discussing here and what most people are excited about crypto is cryptocurrencies, right? Creating future currencies that are used to pay for stuff, right? But when Ethereum came with the smart contracts and everything, one of the things that really excites me is decentralized organizations, right? I think current DAOs are still in their infancy, right? But this gave us, like DAOs is a whole huge thing outside of the idea of, creating currencies of the future. It created a new way that we can organize each other in a completely flat, decentralized way, right? And communicate and can do so many things. I think that part is very in the infancy still of crypto, and has could have massive impact on the world, how we organize things, how we make decisions, how we make anything, right? So I think Bitcoin having started all of this, right, and then Ethereum, how it brought it to the next step, and all of the things that can be done in the future, it's just amazing. And I think I like to compare. I often go out and I explain to people who have absolutely no idea about crypto, Bitcoin, all of that, what it is. And I like to compare it a little bit to the French Revolution, because before the French Revolution, or, before that, we had centralized governments mostly, right? You had this feudalism, right? And we kind of decentralized government with that, and we had the democratic governments after that. And you could see how much more efficient everything became. But the private sector was still very centralized until now. And I think Bitcoin is almost like that French Revolution moment where we see how we could decentralize the private sector as well. And I'm hoping that it could have as big an impact as it had hundreds of years ago, decentralizing government. So
that's a great comparison, man. I've never heard that one before.
Thanks. Yeah. So I'm personally very, very passionate about all of this. And to bring it back to and link this a little bit to when I think the 4-year cycle is going to break, or what will have a very big impact, is in the US, talking about security and security token is almost like you're not allowed to talk about it, right? But in the rest of the world, especially in Asia and the Middle East and also large parts of Europe, the government and companies are really trying to find a legal way and framework that tokens can actually be securities, and they can be legally sold to investors and so forth. And crypto makes all of that a lot more efficient. So if you start to have companies come in, and tokenize their businesses, their revenues, their whatever, and then people can invest into these companies. Then if a company has steady revenues through 10-year cycle, why would their value crash because this 4-year kind of bull bear cycle, right?
And it can stop from that stock market BS manipulation where we have revenue and then the valuation of the stock is 1,500 times more than the revenue is or whatever. And it's a simple, another grift, pump and dump it with that. So now you get transparency around the business in and of itself so that you don't have massive overvaluations based on speculation because you don't get to see the internals. Where with this, it's all exposed and everything. That's a great thing too.
I mean, what I love about this is already in crypto, you have so many examples of where people, I don't know what the economic term is of it, but it's generally you have the people who are located in these financial centers that are able to invest in the best stuff and get the returns, right? And crypto allowed people from anywhere in the world, I mean, from countries you never even heard of, right, to invest in these projects that did amazing and made a lot of money. So it democratizes that a lot, and it allows anyone anywhere to take part in this market, right?
I know in my personal Telegram community where I have less than 400 people, there's people from every single continent except from Antarctica. I don't think we got an Antarctica person yet, but there's someone from all continents of the world and probably 50 countries out of 300 or 400 members. That's wild. This is the type of thing we're talking to people that we would never talk to normally because of this technology, because it's linking us all up from places where some were remote and never had access to this stuff until now. It's really quite remarkable of what all of this can do.
Yeah, shout out. I've been handing out wrenches, so if you're in chat, reach down in your pocket. You probably got a shiny new wrench there if you haven't already. But Optimality says, thankfully, many pulse chain validators are smart, run their own bare metal operations, which is true. So they're not relying on a third party, more decentralized than Ethereum. And then he says, don't forget privacy is a human right. We got Enoch saying, what's up? What's up, everything on Pulse Chain Keck? The Coin Critic says, crypto securities are the same circus with different clowns. Crypto isn't about that. I do like that we are trying to find some permissionless way around other people manipulating it. I wanted to reach back to Maddie here. Maddie, the founder of Time Pays Me, you were talking earlier about the power of locking up coins and saving yourself from yourself. But at the same time, we haven't gotten your take on the Forge and Curator and how you come, what your opinion is on that, and what questions you might have about that for Mark and us.
Well, let me ask you a related question first. Is it true that a wrenched society is a polite society?
Yes.
And what do I mean by that?
You mean that, like, if you mess around or you try misbehaving, there's people all around you ready to block you and check each other. So it's like a system of checks and balances.
Yes. So there's, in a lot of these streams and in general, in the people participating in crypto these days in the RH ecosystem and beyond, there are enough good people watching to provide checks and balances. And the more mechanisms we can build that prove stuff on chain and good people are watching who know what it means, right? I was ranting and raving yesterday on Twitter about the simplest way to explain why Hex is not a Ponzi. Because the code's transparent. It can't lie to you about where the yield comes from, right? And I can go and look. I know where to look on the internet to find the code of Hex. And I can cite my favorite line of code, line 718. It says something about 5555, right? That's time locking. That's the longest length that you can time lock. So I don't understand every line of code, but I know people who do. Like the one of the devs behind Time Pays Me, who made the front end go.tshare.app that I use to manage my Hex stakes. That, you know, it's a free tool to use. He knows every line of code. And so if what the Forge is doing and what Mark and Proof of No Work, if what they're doing is they want to create a system of scoring and analyzing and having good people watching who can weigh in on what it says on the blockchain, for people who don't know where to go and look on the internet to find line 718 of Hex to like verify how long you can lock, or with sacrifices and all that good kind of stuff, I think that's very welcome. I think that's a cool thing to do. And I've even put this out there as a call to all token creators. If you want to prove that you're not going to sell, if you want to pull an Andrew Tate and you want to say, hey, I'm going to launch a coin and I'm not going to sell any of it, why wouldn't you prove that on chain? And then maybe you get a higher score from the people watching. Because,
and confidence in the market.
Yeah. If you're a whale, if you're a Poseidon, you can't sell anyway. So why wouldn't you tell the market by time locking in a drip? Or, I mean, you could even time lock for a week, and then people just watch your wallet. And if they don't see a withdraw request coming out, they know they can provide liquidity for 7 days without you being able to dump on them. So it's really, blockchain, the whole point is about transparency and, why trust people's words when you could trust the code that can't be changed.
Getting back to your point, bro, about you're arguing with people about Hex not being a Ponzi. One of the primary arguments for something not being a Ponzi in Hex would be that anyone that has Hex can create more Hex, aka it's inflationary. So the supply of it ever expands. And in a Ponzi system, you're taking a little bit of money and then extracting it. And then what's ever left over, this tiny little bit of pool, just kind of gets left over to pay everybody out. The economic model is exact opposite of it, where the supply expands rather than contracts. That's not a Ponzi. That's not Ponzi at all.
That's true. Yeah. And I would say the tightest definition of a Ponzi, which I cited, was based on Charles Ponzi and the documentary I linked to in my tweet yesterday about Charles Ponzi. And he was doing rob Peter to pay Paul, where you pay out new investors with old investors. But the thing that makes it a Ponzi and not just a business, because all businesses do that. And when I sell my used car, I need to, rob Peter to pay Paul if my car is worth anything, right? You need a new buyer in all situations anyway. And so and you could have a business that loses money, right? And that would be an example of getting people in and then not being able to pay out. But the thing that makes something a Ponzi is there is a fraudulent explanation of where the yield comes from. In Ponzi's case, he found an actual arbitrage between stamps in different countries, but he only put $5 into it because he was so busy paying. He was telling people you can double your money. You could get 100% yield in 90 days. So that he was a grifter in that sense, that he was lying about where the yield was coming from. He said it was coming from this good idea, but he was really never even buying the stamps. So that's fraud. So he's lying about where the yield is coming from. In Hex can't lie to you about where the yield is coming from because it's all on chain. It's got willing buyers and willing sellers.
Verified code too, you could see too. So
correct.
The Coin Critic says, but it takes everyone to try new innovations. Crypto can add lots of efficiency to existing systems. That's very true. Also, when you lock up coins, makes it harder for centralized entities to buy it up and control the price with ETF, because you've seen what governments have done with precious metals and other commodities in the paper market and how they manipulate those. So,
Dude, let me tell you guys a story here about this, how that relates to this, right? So there's a project with a guy who goes by the alias of Dumpther. And everybody knows, for the most part, this person that was a part of our community, his name was Gunther. He was a whale in this Pulse Bitcoin, Pulse Dogecoin community. And he ended up buying into a huge position, had these miners that were giving him tokens and stuff. And then he ended up onboarding a bunch of people, promising them the world, and then rugging and dumping and extracting all this value, right? So this person named Dumpther, who was a victim of this, made a troll project to troll him called Dumped, right? And this it was another little pump and dump. He made another project, GoPulse token, called Hexaco. And this one really started to take off after the Tang Gang adopted it. And Gunther, the real Gunther, realized this and came in and bought a huge position in it. And now he had ran it up and then he sold it back down and is trying to manipulate the price down as being a whale inside the community. So people can do these bad actors. If you leave the supply open and available, they can come and scoop your shit up, and then they can use it to play against you and dump on you. So it's definitely good if you have an option like this to take those tokens off the market and lock them up, because then you don't let these bad actors come in and potentially manipulate you. And I've experienced that too with people that didn't like me in projects that I launched. Like, I launched a token and they got the token, and before I provided any liquidity, they provided it at a really messed up rate. So you have bad actors, so this can mitigate that issue in a lot of ways. The time pays me.
Not only that, but being able to lock up what you have, it reduces the stress so much. It doesn't force you to look at a price point. It doesn't force you to constantly have anxiety about the market, whether things are going to go up, whether things are going down. If you lock, 2 years, 3 years, if you lock it out for 3 years, okay, I'll start paying attention to the market again if I need to, in a year and 9 months out, or 2 years and 9 months out. It gives you the ability to say, hey, look, it doesn't matter. Same thing with Hex. I'm staked out on Hex. I'm staked out. So whatever, all that chaos that was going on when Hex was taking a dive and all that stuff 6 months ago, 9 months ago, Pulse Chain launch, all that stuff was going on. To me, it was water under the bridge, because it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? I don't have access to that because I'm staked out. So it really does allow you to sit back and just have a lot less stress in your life, especially if finances and the market is something that stresses you out.
And that
So you're saying it's good for your mental health? Is that what you're saying?
That's great,
100%.
man. It could be used for the average guy. It could be used for a project too. And just like Hex, it could be used to stake and earn more yield, or you could just buy it liquid. There's options. There's not just a binary. We have to do something. You have choices and options in these things, and it could play for all kinds of different people. It doesn't just for one type of person. It could be used by everybody.
Yeah. Moon Mutt, one of the winners of the NFT giveaway, says Maddie can see Pulse Ray Vision with his light. And ultimately says, Maddie, you can make your own version of LP locking with the drip code. Basically exists already, but Maddie's version with the ink claim drip.
Yeah, if you guys want to get exotic, nobody's done that yet. But you could do it with Time Pays Me. You would message us, because we haven't released the part where you can add any token, but we can add any token. And so you could send us a LP address and we could add that, and then you could lock up all the liquidity and have it trip back to you on an inflation schedule compared to the supply today that's not locked. Or you could you can do this with your own tokens, tokens from any project, whether you're the founder or not, whether you're a liquidity provider or not. You can take any ERC or PRC20 token and you can put it on a hard lock for up to 55 years, minimum 7 days. For security reasons, you can drip it back to yourself over any period of time. And you can also, you can also do a behavior lock as well, which is a different category.
Richard's brother says that's why I only made one Rob. Optimally says mining hex can save you from yourself. Exotic drip. That's what they want to call it, is the exotic drip.
There you go.
Love it. Love it. So Maddie, as a founder of your own token and also as
It's not a token.
community member, what are you looking at? What would you like to see on a platform like Forge and Curator?
I don't have a token. All I have is a
The protocol.
token agnostic time locking
Right.
protocol.
Right.
But what would I like to see? I mean, I would like to see all kinds of experiments being done in DeFi. I would like to see a standard system for analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of something. I'd like to see a review on Hex, actually. And
I wrote one
would
on there.
like to
There's
see-
reviews up there.
I would like to see like what a final score would look like for somebody like Richard, who isn't believed in by everybody, but has launched something really incredible. And what I don't think that would have a perfect score, even though it's the crypto that I like the most and I believe in the most. I think that's part of the reason why Hex is not flipped Bitcoin yet, but it will, is because not everybody realizes how good it is. And there are always risks. So
I rated Hex a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, the coin critic says
that's you only have 5.
Yeah, you get 1 to 5 stars,
Okay.
and then you write the 1,200 character review, micro review.
So I would, yeah, I don't know. As a scientist, I would want a score out of like 10,000 or something.
And it's 1 out of 5, but you have different categories. So you can, review tokenomics like 2 stars, and then it can be technology 5 stars or things like that.
Well,
so.
You guys are way knowledgeable than I am about like what works in that type of system. So, yeah, I'm just excited that you all are in the community and known by people and bringing lots of value. So thank you.
Yeah, CoinCritic says respect to protocols without a token. Would like to see other projects go in IPFS or self-hosted front ends. Until then, there are always dependencies. So shout out for your protocol there.
There are still a little bit of dependencies on IPFS too. There are narratives around that can tell you that there is a little bit of centralization relied on that too. So as with anything.
Like you depend on having an internet signal, right?
Right.
Like that's a dependency of crypto. You could do it with smoke signals, like in Mastering Bitcoin from Andreas Antonopoulos. And I plan to do that this bull market, to send it a pulse chain transaction. Carrier pigeon. Well, no, that's kind of cheating. Yeah, it would have to be through smoke signal, because that's the example given in the book. But I think like in terms of other dependencies, I mean IPFS, yeah, that's really, really cool. I think that lots of things should have that. Even like something easier to build than that, because sometimes that requires a lot of rewriting front end code. What I would want to see more of, even in my own project, is the steps, a tutorial on how to run your code on Pulse Scan and Etherscan, because that would be really cool.
What do you mean, run your code on Pulse Scan, Etherscan?
You know how like you can go like, if like every Hex front end went down, I could go to Etherscan.
Oh, okay, yeah, like writing the code directly to the block explorer, so interacting with the code directly. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking you might want to do Morse code with your light instead of the whole smoke signal thing. That might be a little easier.
I have a tool.
Man. We gotta flex on these Bitcoiners a little bit more than that.
I use this tool, Maddie, that was called what's it called? SCGUI. It's like Smart Contract GUI.xyz. And this tool allows you to, if you have the ABI of the code, to plug it in, and then you can talk directly to a function. So what this would be useful for is like for these Pulse Chain copy clones, where they had like, let's just say Piave, right? That got copied over. People couldn't interact with that version or the DAO or anything because there was no front end set up to interact with it. Well, if you plug this, use this app, and you have the ABI of the contract, which you could just get from Etherscan, you plug it into this and put it on the Pulse Chain network, you'll then be able to interact with those functions just like you would if it was on Etherscan. But you could do it for any contract as long as you have the code and then the contract address and the network that's on.
Whoa.
scgui.xyz.
I wrote it down. Yeah. Nice. I mean, dude, there could be a lot of value in that if somebody figured out how to run all the functions before everybody else.
Well, that's what a lot of these
popularized it.
exploiters that, were doing manipulative things with some of these copy clone contracts, like minting a bunch of stable coins or whatever. They were using things like this where they just found the source code on Etherscan or whatever it was posted, plugged it into these style apps or use Python or advanced scripts and stuff to then interact with these contracts and do things like mint themselves tokens or change things in the governance of projects or whatever. So they had access to this when nobody else could because there was no front end for the average person to interact with. This allows you to do that, to be one of those people.
This is such a good show. Like, are you
Tech
really
Talk.
telling me people
Tech
are going to
Talk
watch
Pulse
the
Ray,
Super Bowl
man.
and
He's
not
the man.
this?
Optimality says, yeah, that's one of the biggest things. I hope other protocols start to adapt standard hosting, pre-compiled binaries for these front ends. Richard's brother says Hex is perfect. Ascending Man says thanks to your brother. Optimality says sensor resistance plus improved speed and security. As an example, I have multiple backup front ends hosted in case our mixer gets censored. And CoinCritic says, write it on a t-shirt, free speech example, then we can all wear it better than a smoke signal.
Shout out to everybody for joining, contributing.
Yeah, and we have this guy from yesterday that neither of us could figure out the name of him. He says, great stream. This is a dangerous degen table of powerful minds. Awesome. All right. Well, Josh, Nate, do you guys have anything else you guys want to add or bring to the table? I'd love to have you guys on again, obviously. And if you guys will ever have me over at the Degen Round Table, I'll come over and shoot the breeze with you guys. That'd be a lot of fun. And of course, Maddie, the door's always open for Maddie. So thank you very much for being here. Moonmut and El Nara, the winners of the NFT, they can either direct message me or Mark with an address to get that NFT. And then also anyone here in chat, I'm going through a rebranding of Hex Revision to Pulse Revision as we're moving from being a layer 2 community to a layer 1 community. But I've still got a lot of Hex Revision t-shirts and stickers. So if you guys have commented in this stream, you can DM me a shipping address and your t-shirt size, and I'll hook you guys up with the Hex Revision swag, which, that'll be a collector's item later because that'll be discontinued for Pulse Revision merch in the future. So get your Hex Revision stuff now.
Do it.
Limited collectibles.
Limited. I'll sign them if I see you guys in Vegas or one of the conferences.
Wow.
Yeah. Are you going to that?
Yeah, I'll be at the one in March
I'll be
in
there.
Vegas. Cool. And then do you have any meetups or conferences in person that you've got planned right now, Maddie?
Yes. So online Pulse Conference, pulsechainconference.com is May 10th through 13th for the 1-year anniversary of Pulse Chain launching. 4-day online event. That'll be really cool. And then end of July, Bitcoin conference in Nashville. I'm going to do a Hex meetup there again this year. Last year it was in Miami. This year, Nashville. Nashville's awesome. I can already tell a bunch of people are going to come because we had so much fun last year, even though I had broken bones and couldn't go party with Eric Wall like everybody else. But also I was running a 46-hour live stream at the time. But yeah, so that's going to be in Nashville at the end of July. And then I was going to ask you guys, did you go around the room and say what your favorite crypto is today?
No, I haven't. But go for it. And then also tell people where they can find you, subscribe, follow, and get your information.
Oh yeah, I'm Matty, MATI, all in on everything.
Awesome. And what's your favorite crypto?
My favorite crypto?
Yes.
Today or just in general?
You said
Either
today.
one. Today.
Today. I really like PulseX today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Mark, where could people get involved with the Forge and Curator and follow you what you've got going on?
Telegram is best. So that's t.me/curator.com, spelled CYRATORCOM.
Awesome. And Nate, how could people follow you and the Degens?
Yeah. So I am actually the Ascending Man. I have my own YouTube channel where I talk about interesting things.
Wait,
Just
so
kind
we've
of
been
things in
talking to
general.
you in chat this whole time.
Yeah. I like that is correct. I am the Ascending Man. I actually don't have it on my thing. I switched it to Degen Round Table, but yes, you can also find us, the Degen Round Table, at the Degen Round Table YouTube. Mostly crypto related, but then there's a couple of things as well as, like, say, as I said before, the book club. It's to help out anybody from just in life in general. It's really good stuff, quite frankly. Yeah, come out and hang out. I know Whiskey Wednesdays is hangout time, so if you're interested of just getting on the show and shooting the shit with us, then yeah, go right ahead, hop on.
When is the book club?
Book club is every Friday or every other Friday. So this last Friday, we just got done having book club. I was not on that one in particular, so I can't actually remember the name of the book. It was
The Way of the Wolf. Way of the
Way
Wolf.
of the Wolf.
By Jordan Belfort. I wasn't on the show either, but I watched it. But yeah, that's what Zenith
He
decided.
took his interview with Richard down, but
You
there's
guys didn't
still
say your
hope.
favorite crypto
There's still
token,
hope for
though.
him.
What's the
Oh
favorite
yeah,
crypto
what's your
token of
favorite
the day?
crypto token today?
What about you, Mark? You gotta give one
and
too.
Nate,
Sorry?
Catch.
Your favorite crypto token.
today.
Today, favorite crypto token. Well, it has to be Cure, our own, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Favorite community is definitely Pulse Chain. So
Yeah.
All right.
100%. My favorite token in general is Pulse. I am having way too much fun on Pulse Chain. This is a great community and everything. But currently today, it's Loan Token. You want to know why? It's
Why?
payday.
Payday.
So yeah, after this, I'm gonna go cash out on Loan. So
Congratulations.
Nice.
Yeah. And what about you, Josh? Where do people catch up with you? And
Yeah,
what's your
so
favorite token today.
yeah, so my name is Josh. You guys can find me on Twitter, on Instagram at Chocolate Taints, with an S on the end of it. That's my moniker. Nobody's gonna forget the name. I can promise you that. So.
What's the inspiration?
I love the fact that it's plural. Like one taint
Yep.
wasn't enough.
Yep. Chocolate
What is the
Taints.
inspiration, bro? What's the backstory behind that?
Honestly, I was, I'm a goofy dude, like, in my personal life, like, I'm just a goofy person. It's just who I am. So I was just like, what's a name that somebody's not going to forget? And I was like, okay, let's go with Chocolate Taints. Let's go with Chocolate Taints. And that's just how it was created. So
That is
I don't have some elaborate story. That's just how it is. 'Cause I'm a goofy dude. I don't want to give a cheesy answer. But
Cheese it up, bro.
Yeah, I don't really have a specific favorite coin of the day. I like my portfolio, which consists of X amount of coins. So that's what I'll say is my favorite coin is the coins that are in my portfolio. But yeah, so Twitter, Instagram, that's where you guys can find me. So DJ Roundtable, we're going to be streaming live tonight, 8:00 p.m. Eastern time. If you guys want to check us out there, DJ Roundtable, you guys can find us Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and on YouTube. We got a Telegram group. It's live in there. We got a ton of people in there. It's constantly growing. Keep the conversation going. It's absolutely awesome. That's bit.ly/degenerate_roundtable. That's where you guys can join that up. We got DJ Roundtable tonight. We're going to have Fashion Coder on Wednesday. So we got a ton of stuff going on. Join the community. You guys will be figuring out all that stuff. So that's me.
Tell her about
Shout out
Curator,
to
bro.
Fashion Coder. She brings a lot of information and a really wonderful positive energy. So that's going to be good. I would definitely be tuning into that one.
Just real quick. We got Fashion Coder. Then we're going to have Funding Jim, Gary Woods. And then we're going to have Access Alive, Crispy Man, and Brandon Rags to Riches in 6 weeks. So yeah, we do our special guests. Yeah, we do our special guests every 2 weeks, and then Whiskey Wednesday is the following week after that. So that's who our special guests are going to be for the next foreseeable future.
Nice schedule.
Awesome. And proof of no work, Deb, what is your favorite token and where can people find you and follow you?
It's always proof of no work, PONW token, obviously. My best place to follow me is my Telegram, t.me/proof of no work. I have a Twitter, but I don't use it because I don't like the platform. I think it's Pulse Chain PONW. I believe that's the username. And I have a YouTube channel at Proof of No Work.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Awesome. Cool. I'm Pulse Ray Vision, but my handles are still Hex Ray Vision because can't change the handles themselves. But you can find me there on YouTube and Twitter. And then also our Telegram for my project is t.me/anti-gravity saga. So you can come in there and get updates on the art and the book and the project. We're still about 4 or 5 months out from launching. So we'll give you guys all those deets when we can. My favorite token right now is USDL because I've been staking that USDL and getting those delicious loan payments every day. And occasionally giant, like I'll get like millions of pulse sometimes that are dumped in when people are liquidated. So I really like
better than T-bills.
What's that?
Are you getting more than 5%?
I'm getting well at the beginning I was getting 1,400 to 1,500% for the first few weeks.
Congratulations.
That's better than 5.
Now it's still at 100%. So the money is still doubling every year, which is, you know, to sit in a stable coin and get some passive income is a beautiful thing in crypto. So that's where I'm enjoying that. But
there was a really profitable arbitrage strategy there too for a while on that. It's not as much anymore. Well, not even necessarily arbitrage, but just whenever the token would depeg, you could buy it below peg, and then as it would go depeg, it would usually go up above the peg then to try to balance it. So you had a nice opportunity to scoop the dip whenever it went below $1 and then take the profit above it. And it was doing it like 10, 15 times a day within a range where you could make money. It's not that much anymore because it's got a lot less volatile, but there was huge money to be made on that as well.
It was going wild at the beginning there. Yeah. It was going wild. That was crazy.
Yeah. And then to the Degen community is it's actually got a link here, so I can add that there. Or would it show up if people just search Degen for your Telegram?
Yeah, Degen Round Table. Yeah, if you want to go ahead, throw the link in the chat. It's really easy for people just to kind of click that. Go ahead, join up, guys. Like we have a lot of very good conversations. The type of conversation we're having right now on stream, you can literally just go right in there and start asking us. You get direct access to us, the Degen Round Table itself. So yeah, just go ahead, hit us up. We got a lot of really smart guys in there. If you're newer and you're a little bit like, I don't know about such and such, join, ask some questions. We'll help you out.
Awesome. Love it. All right. So now is the time for our awkward wave goodbye. We're going to play a little bit of music, and I want you guys to give your most awkward wave to the camera. All right. So go ahead. Just drop into that real insecure place of adolescence.
Sorry, I can't participate, guys. This is great.
We look like the world's worst beauty queens.
It's a special group of people right here.
All right, guys. We'll catch you this next weekend. I'm going to be in Florida, so I won't be doing a tech talk this Sunday, but I'll be bouncing around and be doing more, keeping up with the Forge and Curator, and continue to talk to great minds like these. So, thank you very much, guys. Love you. We'll see you later.
Peace out.